Hello, respected viewers. Hello, it's George from Ireland. So welcome back to my channel. I was going to work yesterday morning when I saw the gladsome tidings on one of those screens on the street when news flashes up, and I was very pleasantly surprised. I was sure Trump would be convicted of a few things, but I didn't think he'd go down for all 34 charges. But I suppose the jury followed the logic. If one, why not all of them? Because it's the same story in every case. The documentary evidence is absolutely irrefragable. And so 12 New Yorkers, men and women, found their fellow New Yorker guilty. And so that's it. He is guilty. For the first ever time, Trump is a conviction politician, but not in the way that you might want. So I was elated. And the staggering thing is what took them so long. The Justice Department um, Trump has been a prolific criminal for decades and got away with it. The most flagrant frauds. Trump University, which was not a university, awarding qualifications which it had no right to award. And he appeared in the promotional videos. He was making money for it. How on earth is he not serving serious prison time for this? In the United States, people go to prison for a long time for actually quite trifling crimes, considering the millions of dollars that were lost to so many students. It's just mind blowing what he's got away with. Incitement of violence at rallies in 2016. The violence actually happened. The peaceful protesters were beaten up. And knowing this, he persisted in doing this. And he's had this impunity. It's his Fifth Avenue principle. I suppose that would be the Trump doctrine, either that or grab him by the pussy, that he could shoot somebody dead in broad daylight on Fifth Avenue and get off scot free. Yeah. And so I'm elated he's been convicted. And so Trump has done everything he can to undermine confidence in the justice system, making all these baseless allegations. And the judge has bent over backwards to give him an easy ride, give him $10,000 fines for contempt of court and things like that. Or he's done publicly traducing the jurors, any court officials. So I think he should have been jailed for this because he did it in a very public way. Millions of people heard or saw what he said. And he absolutely savaged the system. So, there's got to be equality before law. You're the former president, you're a beggar, whoever you are, doesn't matter. You be treated the same. You mustn't go easy on him because he's a former president, or indeed unusually hard. And you shouldn't change the schedule of the trials because the election to postpone it or to prepone it, as the Indians would say, carry on regardless. If that's inconvenient for any political candidate, so what? Um, so there's no reason to think that this is rigged at all. And people say it's a city that's 90% Democrat, which is an exaggeration. Well, you could be a Democrat who's still fair-minded, who acquits if the evidence is not there. I mean, if it was a 90% Republican city, would that be a fair trial? You might say yes, you might say no. But somebody's got to be the jury. As it happens, the crimes are committed in the state of New York, which is why people from New York were the jurors, and they did everything they can to root out bias. But somebody's got to be a juror. Everybody has opinions. Everybody's heard of Donald J. Trump. And anyway, he's going to appeal. That means he probably wouldn't go to prison at all until the appeal is heard. So the maximum sentence, I'm told, for this is 4 years. But because he committed so many of these crimes, on 34 occasions, it makes it a bit more likely he'll serve jail time. I don't think he'll serve the whole 4 years because there's every indication that the judge is going to go quite easy on him as a first-time offence, as a non-violent crime. I'm surprised what Trump didn't say is he's too ill to stand trial, which would rather militate his claim that he'd be the fittest person ever to be president. Another blatant lie. Is there any lie that the Trumpists won't swallow, no matter how absolutely blindingly obvious his doctor, who's now dead, saying he'd be the healthiest president they've ever been? JFK, who I think was 42 when he became president, healthier than him. Admittedly, JFK had some health problems. Barack Obama, who played basketball every day, like scarcely ever drank or smoked, all the rest of it, very healthy diet, healthier than him. George W. Bush, who's in the top 1% of fitness for men of his age, with his jogging and his cycling, healthier than him. Wow, it's mind blowing. Trump, who's morbidly obese with a BMI of about 36. He's lied about his height. He's lied about his weight. He's lied about just about everything. So I'm delighted. I want to be as humiliating as possible. And obviously, it's unedifying to see him ranting like this. Now, unfortunately, many Republicans have drunk the Kool-Aid. There are a lot of knuckle draggers out there, bigots and imbeciles, and this has simply made them more furiously pro-Trump. Obviously, they're against justice. This is the party of law and order. We're going to have a criminal as their candidate, a felon. The Americans, of all, with each of the best persons president, of all the tens of millions of eligible people, and he's the one they're going to pick. Staggering. So far as I can know, nobody in the Republican Party, nobody has suggested dumping him now and getting somebody else. But it will put off some of the voters. Of those who intended to vote Trump, 16%, 16%, so they wouldn't vote for him. He's found guilty of something. And because it's neck and neck, that would be decisive if they actually stick with that. Even more than 16 might drop off, or not quite 16. And of course, there are a few undecided still. But we've got a long time to go. We've got, well, about 5 months till the election now. So does it open the floodgates for the other trials? Now, jurors shouldn't let the outcome of a different trial sway them. If he was guilty, he's guilty of this. That doesn't prove he's guilty of electoral interference. It doesn't prove he's guilty of stealing national secrets, something like that. But jurors are not deaf and dumb. They're going to, or blind. They're going to have heard what was said, and there probably is going to influence some of them to vote guilty. So, I mean, almost certainly more convictions are coming. Is it 96 crimes he's been charged with? Sometimes it's multiple counts of the same crime. So a state trial coming up in Georgia, a federal trial in where is it, Washington, D.C., I think a federal trial in Florida. Remember, as president, it's dubious whether he can pardon himself from federal crimes, but he most certainly cannot pardon himself from state crimes. I don't know what the laws in the state of New York or the state of Georgia, but even if the governor could pardon him, well, it's not the governor who's sympathetic in New York, but and I don't think that in Georgia either. Anyway, we shall see. So yeah, it's really disgraceful, but completely unsurprising the way he's savaged the judge and the whole justice system, done everything they could to undermine confidence in that. And it's proved that no one's above the law. And that's the way it should be, So I've always believed in that Latin legal maxim, fiat justitia ruat caelum. Do justice though the sky should fall. We don't think it's a bill of repercussions. Oh, we don't do this because it would look bad, or it would queer the pitch for the election, or it help somebody or be unhelpful to somebody else. No. We do the right thing without fear, without favor, whoever you are. So his defense team, they couldn't get their story straight. They kept contradicting themselves, and so on. And so I was reading, some legal experts said it's likely that he will be convicted. Of course, Alan Dershowitz has taken his side, not surprisingly. From Alan Dershowitz, a man who has publicly, repeatedly defended the mass murder of civilians, is exactly the sort of person who say that Trump is innocent as a lamb, because it was false accounting, and it was for the purpose of the election, as in persuading Stormy Daniels not to disclose the fact that she had adulterous sex with him. Now, I don't care if he did that with her, or most certainly hid. Why on earth would you pay her that money if you didn't have an affair with her? So one of the few things I don't mind about Trump, he can have affairs with 1,000 women. They can be prostitutes. They can be porn stars. There's no skin off my snout. That doesn't do any harm to anybody else. His wife might dislike it. Oh, yeah. And by the way, that's the oh so moral, holier than thou Puritans. And he's the one they buy into, the Jesus freaks, someone who's utterly impenitent about doing this, who used to splash it all over the newspapers, constantly bragging about his infidelity to his wife. The family values people. He's the one they go for. I mean, it's just nauseating. It proves what absolute cod's wallop it is. So I'm delighted. I would love to see him utterly humiliated. But I think if he goes to prison, he'd have to go with the Secret Service for his own protection. But so what? There's no one more secure than a prison. Go in there, take over a whole cell block, have dozens of them. He'd be completely secure. But I mean, there's obviously a slim chance he might actually win in November and have to serve as president from the prison. No foreign rallies, no foreign meetings. But one thing is, his time is going to be taken up with these trials, therefore more difficult to go for rallies. He's getting more funding, but Biden's still well ahead of him in funding. It's even more likely that Biden's going to win, and I don't think Biden's going to win by much. He won by 4.5% of the popular vote last time. I think a little bit more than that this time, like 6%, 7%, if we're optimistic. And obviously, Lewin in the Electoral College by not very much. But what is baffling and sickening is the way tens of millions of Americans will still vote for him. And not just that, some of them think he's marvelous. Wow. It poses some fundamental questions about democracy, that so many people can be so utterly unreasonable, so blinkered, so willfully idiotic, so pernicious as to vote for someone like that. And I know there's a lot more with Joe Biden. I mean, he's evil as well. Like Noam Chomsky, not a person I have very much time for, but saying that every US president since 1945 would be found guilty if held to the Nuremberg standard. Now, I think that's not quite true, but there is some merit in what he says. And obviously, Joe Biden and Donald Trump are no exception. Right. Thank you so much Goodbye. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and donate on PayPal. Toodaloo.